a world are celebrating International Women's Day. But today is about more than honoring the women in our lives. It's a day to demand change over things like pay equality, reproductive rights, education, and justice. There are some big things happening for women's rights. Let's start in France, where the government inscribed the guaranteed right to abortion in its constitution today. When the vote passed overwhelmingly, President Emmanuel Macron said it was a universal message, and he said it was particularly important as abortion rights are rolled back in the US, in Poland, and in Hungary. And today he said he also wants to take the fight for abortion rights to Europe. He wants them inscribed in the European Charter of Fundamental Rights. And already there's been some response. Neighbouring Spain, one of the parties to the ruling coalition, says it wants to bring a referendum as well in order to change the constitution to bring in abortion rights. And women's groups around the world say that reproductive rights for women are one of the most important rights because it allows women to control their lives and to mean that they can live outside of the family and that they're not just seen as baby makers or carers for the family. Well, from France to Ireland, where there is a referendum in Ireland to remove sexist language from the constitution there, what can you tell us about that? Well, as it stands, the constitution in Ireland recognises the role of woman in the home, and it says that no woman should be obliged out of economic necessity to work outside the home. But people feel that that's just a bit sexist, a bit limiting, and so the government has suggested that that phrase be replaced with notions of carers within the family group. On International Women's Day, the streets of Madrid echoed with the powerful voices of thousands marching in solidarity for gender equality. Flags waved high, banners painted with messages of empowerment fluttered in the wind, and chants demanding justice reverberated through the city. Women, men, and non-binary individuals joined hands, united in their determination to break down barriers and pave the way for a more inclusive and equitable future. The march was a vibrant tapestry of diversity, representing people from all walks of life and backgrounds. It was a testament to the unwavering resilience of those who refuse to accept the status quo and instead strive for a world where every person, regardless of gender, can thrive and reach their full potential. As the sun set on the horizon, the spirit of solidarity burned bright in the hearts of all who participated. The march in Madrid served as a poignant reminder that the fight for gender equality is far from over, but together, with passion and determination, change is not only possible, but inevitable. And the notion of family itself is also up for change, because the Constitution talks about guaranteeing the family, but mentions that it is built on the institution of marriage. And again, Irish society has moved on since the Constitution was written, and so the changes would mean that the notion of family is wider and not just pinned on marriage. Well, more broadly, what does the future hold for International Women's Day? And why are some experts saying now is more important than ever to commemorate it? It's been 114 years since the idea of an International Women's Day was first mooted. And observers are saying, look, it is really important. We may feel we've come a long way, but there's huge inequality across the world, whether it's in industrialized nations or in developing nations, and it's something that is of concern on various levels. The World Bank says that women and girls are most deprived because they give more time to unpaid work and to work in the home. And that keeps them from following more fulfilling career paths that they may want, and just from being in the workforce in jobs they would choose, and it takes from their free time. But there's also some of the more basic issues. There are areas, particularly in rural parts of developing countries, where baby girls don't live beyond the first few minutes, because they're considered a burden, and they're simply allowed to die because the parents would rather wait for a boy who's considered more useful.
Look at Afghanistan since the Taliban came back to power. Girls and women, they're deprived of education, forced to stay home. There are countries across the Middle East where women have limited freedoms and are dependent on male guardians to allow them to do anything. And even in more civilized, more developed Western nations like Europe, like the US, there are issues including Sexism, violence against women, and a backlash from some men.